There's plenty of pressure. You're following up the Da Vinci Code. You want to make sure that you hit it out of the park.
Is that why you waited 6 years? Was it that you just had to make sure you got it exactly right? Because that's one of the things people are speculating about.
Sure. Well, I mean, of course that's part of it. And the other thing is that this book is, the topic is so interesting and so mind-boggling and so complex that I needed a lot of extra time to research it and understand it to the point that I could work it into the story.
Why the nation's capital?
Washington, D.C. has everything that Rome, Paris, and London have in the way of great architecture, great power bases. Washington has obelisks and pyramids and underground tunnels and great art and a whole shadow world that we really don't see.
When you talk about the shadow world that we don't see, though, how did you discover it?
One of the great luxuries of having written the Da Vinci Code is that it gave me access to all kinds of things I never had access to before.
Explain that. You're saying because you were a successful author, all of a sudden you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I'd like to come in and poke around, and you get that access where you didn't get it 15 years ago?
I guess it really is that simple. Not in every case, but sure.
One of the main groups in this book are Freemasons.
Sure.
Give me Freemasonry for Dummies. Give me the 101 on it. Why is this group fascinating?
They are fascinating because we live in a world where different cultures are killing each other over whose version of God is accurate. And here you have an organization, a global organization, that is spiritual and yet will bring Muslims, Jews, Christians, and even just people who are confused about the religion, bring them together and say, look, we all agree that there's some good big thing out there, but we're not going to put a label on it. Let's worship together.
So basically all Freemasons agree there is a supreme being.
Yes.
They believe that we are all created equal and are all equals. They live by a strict code of morals and ethics. Why are they fascinating? Where's the mystery in the Freemasons?
Well, the mystery is in their origins and in the fact that they have managed to remain pretty secret. Their rituals are arcane, and you sort of catch snippets of what their rituals are like, and you can really see a lot of what happens within the organization.
You said a lot of people wondered what took so long with this book, and some people speculated that it was about the plagiarism lawsuit, which was dismissed by the courts in the UK. What impact did it have on you, though?
It was terrible. It's like, as J.K. Rowling says, it's like somebody showing up at your door and pointing at your child and saying, that's mine. It's not a pleasant thing to go through, to have all of your work called into question. I think everybody on the outside had a pretty good idea what that was about, and we just got through it.
Given the controversy that was generated by the Da Vinci Code and the fact that some in the Catholic Church called for a boycott of the book and a boycott of the movie, and I know you've received threats as a result of what you've written, so when you pick up the phone and you call the Freemasons, I'm surprised they even took your call. I mean, why would they say, wait a second, look what happened with the Catholic Church. Why do we want to let this guy in to poke around?
It is a double-edged sword. You have access, and simultaneously you often need to do your research in other ways, under other names or through other routes, because there's certainly moments that...
So you use an alias and you do research under an alias?
There are times. I've gone to D.C. many times and taken tours. Just regular tours with a baseball cap on, and just let that sort of be my first experience. And then I may decide, I can set a scene here. Let's go back and take more notes. I'm very proprietary. I don't let people see things until I really feel like they're in great shape.
Right. When you get down to the part where you're actually writing chapters now, do you send one at a time to him?
No. You send blocks of chapters because that's the way stories are read, 50 pages at a time.
Do you skip around in the book? I mean, could you write chapter 112 before chapter 58?
Yes.
How do you keep your sanity? How do you keep...
You can talk to my wife. There may be some debate on that topic.
Best time of the day for you to write is?
4 a.m.
And you're up there and you have a cup of coffee, you sit down. Do you get dressed? You sit in your pajamas? I mean,
It depends. My writing cottage is not in the house. I have to walk to it. It's funny. I often get into trouble because I'm so eager to get to work that I'll walk over in pajama bottoms and a sweatshirt because it's pitch black and nobody's around.
And then there's the great Dan Brown legend that if you have any kind of block, and you say you don't have real writer's block, but if you come to a stop sign, you jump in the gravity boots.
Why not?
A la Richard Gere in American Gigolo.
I wish I looked like Richard Gere in the gravity boots. The gravity boots are terrific because they, not only they increase your circulation to your head.
Right.
You think differently upside down.
You're pulling my leg here.
I'm not pulling your leg.
You think differently upside down?
Of course, you should try it. When you were a kid, you hung upside down all the time, off the furniture, off jungle gyms.
I got dizzy and I started to throw up.
All right, well, that doesn't happen.
Are you going to tell me some of your best chapters have been written immediately following stints in the gravity booth?
I have this habit of painting Langdon into a spot and just saying, you know what, I know I'm going to find a way out of this. And then if you don't, you've got to hang upside down and think about it from a different point of view, and sometimes it works.
You've been involved as a producer in both the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demon. What is it like, Dan, to watch as huge sections of your book are left out of a movie?
If they had left nothing out of the Da Vinci Code, it would have been a 20-week miniseries.
Right.
The important thing to me is that the core feel and the core message of the book remain intact. I had enormous faith in Ron Howard and this whole team.
You're writing scenes and chapters for Langdon. It just seems impossible for me to imagine that you're not picturing Tom Hanks as you're writing.
You know, it didn't. You have to remember that I spent a few months on a movie set, and I've spent years in my head with this other character that I created. I think Tom did a great job. He's a great Robert Langdon.
First book, 5 years old.
Yes.
The giraffe, the pig,
and the pants on fire.
Was it a thriller?
You know what? I thought so. My mom was thrilled.
My 5-year-old wrote a book?
Right. I dictated it to my mom, and I did all the illustrations.
Were you a precocious kid?
You know, I think I was a shy kid. I grew up without television.
Right.
I had a dog, and we lived up in the White Mountains in the summer, and I had no friends up there, and I'd go play hide and seek with my dog, and probably had some imaginary friends. But it worked.
They have since left the building. They don't pop up on your shoulder.
No, not those kind. But I spend my life now with a lot of imaginary friends, if you want to put it that way.
Is it ever mind-boggling to you that based solely on your past performance, they're going to print 5 million copies of this book?
I try not to think about it.
I mean, that's not because they've read it and they've decided it deserves 5 million copies. They're doing it based on the fact that you have delivered in the past.
Well, you talk about pressure. There's some pressure, and I have delivered again. I believe I'm thrilled with this book. This is a book that I would love to read.
That's the best review. The author would read this book.
That's right.
There you go.